It's the year 2019. Digital Storm and NZXT, the biggest pre-built gaming PC companies, are fighting to get the riches. Just kidding, they're not really fighting, but it's basically like the Microsoft and Apple for gamers. And then as time goes on, more and more companies that are trying to be pre-builds as well as other things start to pop up. And then we get to the year 2024 and TikTok, being the best app on planet Earth, gives me an ad for a brand new startup gaming PC company known as Skytech Gaming. So in today's video, I'm gonna be reviewing the best sellers of the Skytech Gaming company, which hopefully these PCs are actually good because they kind of look cool. Alrighty, so we are on the website, and as you can see, you can actually do a custom PC builder. You can do pre-built gaming PCs. You can find accessories, probably like keyboards, mice, everything like that. So we have the pre-built gaming PC. We have the best sellers. We have Intel specifically, AMD Ryzen specifically, clearance, and then all models. Now, we're only reviewing the best sellers today, which seems to be 4 of them, which, okay, fine, whatever. But if you guys want me to review every single model available, give this video a like, hit that subscribe button, and I'll give you a review just like this one based on like an average consumer POV. Alright, so we're at pre-built gaming PCs, the best sellers. So this one I guess is a bundle. So it says saving bundle Nebula plus 27-inch monitor, and then it gives you like a little debriefing of like what the main components are. So it looks like an Intel i5 12th gen, and then an NVIDIA RTX 4070. So let me just state that if you're going to go with Intel, you want no less than an i7. And I say that primarily because of how many cores are available. So if you go with obviously an i5, it's going to have between 4 and 6. If you go with an i7, it's going to have between 6 and 8. And then if you go with an i9, I believe it's 8 to 12. And then after that, it goes to like the 16 and the insane number of cores. Now, here's another thing. The more cores you have, the better. I say that because when you're running programs consistently and for a very long period and you're running them hard, the more cores you have, the more threads that can be processed at a given second. So, you have 8 cores. Well, guess what? All those 8 cores are going to be working together to make sure that one task is completed. The less cores you have, obviously, the more stress is going to be on that CPU, so on and so forth. You guys can kind of do some common sense on what's going to happen after that. Anyways, going back to this, we have the 1 terabyte. It looks like that's probably a hard drive, NVMe. Then a B660 DDR4. I think that is the motherboard. I think that's by Asus. So it's got DDR4 slots, 16 gigabytes of DDR4, 3200 megahertz of RAM. Not bad. Honestly, I personally wouldn't go for it. So it says it's $14.99. So let's select it. Let's see what's actually in here. So again, you have i5, you have tower cooling. So firstly, let me just state that everything has levels to it. So obviously, as you can see, there's a box cooler, tower air cooler, and then the AIO, which is obviously the best of the best. For me personally, I would never go with anything that is lower than an AIO or a liquid CPU cooler, but some people can go to a tower air cooler, which essentially isn't even really that bad. It brings in a lot more cool air at a rapid pace, and sometimes is more efficient and saves a lot more space. Box cooler is like the last thing you ever want to go to. Again, has the motherboard, great motherboard, pretty good RAM. That's what I have actually. I just have now 32 gigabytes of RAM. And the NVIDIA RTX 4070 graphics card, freaking phenomenal. Got 1 terabyte of hard drive, 650 watt gold power supply. That's pretty average, I would say. And then obviously your Windows operating system, it's a Windows 11. Now this PC is small. You look at the dimensions here, it says 16.34 inches in height, so that's probably about this big. Roughly say 8.75. I know it says 8.66. That's probably about there. And then 19, so it's going to be about maybe this long, I would say. It's a tiny PC. This PC here is pretty big, in all honesty. Ignore the drink. It comes with a monitor, and I'm assuming this monitor is literally by Skytech Gaming, so it says 180 hertz curved. Listen, I hate people that have curved monitors. They suck. They really do. There's so much stress on the GPU. I just don't think if it's that small, yeah, it's tiny. Oh my god. Biggest problem with this is that Well, since you have a lot of heat in a confined area like this, I think I did a review over the NZXT H1 Mini. That sucker, the smallest gaming PC on planet Earth, and it was like $1,000. Had great specs in it, but the closer you have heated things, the worse off you're going to be, because that means without correct airflow, or even if you think you have correct airflow, you are going to be in a bad situation. Honestly, I'm going to say this is really overpriced. We have the Archangel 4. So this one has an AMD Ryzen 7 7700X. If I'm not mistaken, that's basically an i7. So pretty good CPU, great GPU. I think that 7600 is actually just a 40 series in the NVIDIA world. 1 terabyte of hard drive space, a little bit downgrade of the motherboard, but now you have 32 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM. That's 5200 megahertz with RGB for literally $1,200. That ain't bad, actually. This I can rock with. So here you have, and you can see in the picture, you have your liquid CPU cooler. Amazing, fantastic. For 1,200, not bad. 240 millimeter AIO, which is basically the CPU. It's fancy terms of saying liquid CPU cooler. 4 fans, not great, but you know, you could always add those on depending on if you have the space for it. Motherboard again, then you have the RAM, fantastic, and then you have a graphics card, which is literally amazing because it's basically a 40 series of NVIDIA. 1 terabyte of primary hard drive, awesome. 600 watt power supply. I definitely go higher just because of what you have in there, but then you're going to be talking more money. Again, Windows 11 operating system. So in all fairness, this is a good PC. It really is. Again, I don't like how tight of quarters it is. I think it's spread out more a little bit. I think the dimensions are on it. Yeah, so it's a little bit wider. Makes sense. Not as long. A little bit of an issue. But to be fair, it looks really cool. And honestly, I think it's a good starter PC for real. $1,200, you get that. So this is another Archangel. And this one has the i5, well, it's the same CPU as the first one. So it's the i5 12th gen. This also has the NVIDIA RTX 4060 Ti 8GB. Now listen to me, guys, before we click on this. If you get a graphics card that has a Ti in it, just know that that means the core is made out of titanium. Literally does not matter, because you as a consumer, as me as a consumer, an average consumer, you are not going to be able to tell the difference. So realistically, you spending more money on a Ti versus a no Ti, it's not going to be worth it. But to be formally detailed, a Ti GPU is going to have an improvement in their performance levels, clock speeds, CUDA cores, as well as memory bandwidth and pricing. But again, for an average consumer, you will not notice a difference between a Ti and a no Ti. 1 terabyte of hard drive. Again, you're going with the B660 Asus. You got the 16 gigabyte DDR4, 3200 megahertz. Bam! Awesome. I love the price. Heck yeah. This here, in all honesty, I know I said that I hate the i5, but not a bad... Well, actually, caught myself. I don't like the tower cooling. If it didn't have that tight space, don't love it. I don't think that's worth it, in my opinion. I'm not even gonna go through the rest of it because it honestly is the same old stuff. To have a better GPU, but not a whole lot of airflow, don't like that. Then we have the Shadow 4. This has an AMD Ryzen 5 7600X with an NVIDIA RTX 4060, 1 terabyte of hard drive, B650 Asus motherboard with a 32 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM, 5200 megahertz RGB for $1,200. I think it's only more expensive just because A, it has a 650 watt power supply, but it also has the DDR5 RAM. I just don't like the tower cooling, and now it's RGB. If you guys can't tell what I would definitely pick, I'm sorry, but just know that 3 of these have the tower cooling. So realistically, if it were me, I would personally pick the Archangel 4 that has the AMD Ryzen 7 7700X. One that's got the CPU liquid cooling, phenomenal, but has a great GPU, which is again basically the 40 series in NVIDIA, but then it also has the DDR5 5200 megahertz RAM. And that has 32 gigabytes of it, which is awesome. You always want to make sure you're having better RAM that'll improve the performance of the the PC, obviously. Better CPU, which you can clearly see is like the best one out of all of these. Props to them on that. And then for the price, to get liquid CPU cooling in there, heck yeah. Which I think it's weird because if you compare the Archangel 4 to the Shadow 4, they're the exact same price. It's just the Shadow 4 has a worse CPU than the Archangel 4, but it's the same price because it's got NVIDIA instead of AMD. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe, and I will actually review all models if you guys really enjoyed this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Love you. Goodbye.